Good morning, friends. We had been discussing about the negotiations. I'll continue with this in this week too. And then finally, I'll go into the discussion on marketing strategy and time management as my last week's discourse. In the last discussion, we have discussed about some key concepts like Bhatna, like Zopa, like Zoka. Now, the thing is, here in this situation, certain approaches are to be followed. I have to go a little fast in these approaches because there are many things to be explained to you. So, follow me. See, there are three approaches which every negotiation almost attempts at. Win-win. People say win-win. That means in the negotiation there are two parties or multi-parties, everybody is winning. Let's talk about two-party. Multi-party will become a little complex, but two-party, win-win. That means it should be such negotiation that both the parties win. But frankly speaking, if it is distributive kind of negotiation, then both the party cannot win. One has to lose. Who is losing? Somebody is losing the product. What he is winning in return is the money. An example, you went to buy a garment and you wanted to win. What you have won is the garment. What you have lost is the money. What the seller has won is the money, and what he has lost is the garment. So the thing is, here we can say both of them have won. So there is a situation that everybody thinks that one has to win, other person also has to win, but only the thing, the winning and the losing parameters or the commodities are different. Okay, now win-win is a very common thing. Everybody wants to win in negotiation. That's quite natural. Nobody wants to go for negotiation to lose. People have different kind of reasons or purposes for negotiation. People have different commodities to exchange and they negotiate for, and ultimately both of the parties are trying to win. The situation is, why talk about it at all, the win-win? The reason is that when you are going for a negotiation with an objective of winning, if you come back losing, then it is very disastrous, and this is why we always talk about. But I can tell you, the win-win situation is a little bit of myth. It's not that everybody can come back and say that I have won. It's a kind of feeling that I have won. Literally, if you try to count that, you might have found that you have given more concessions than that you had expected to give. That means you have lost. You might have got a project, but you have negotiated finally and agreed and signed a document or agreement at a lesser fees than what you had at the mind. So basically you have lost. But what you have won the project. It happens in the tendering. In tender process, everybody gives a quote. The quote is very, very, I would say very finely worked out for any kind of works. The quote is worked that, okay, we are going to spend this things. We are going to make this much of profit. You are going to make this much of, the amount that you have to share with others. These are the different kind of taxes we have to pay. So ultimately you say this is our rate. You work it out. And then you quote. And you found that three other persons also have quoted. Now the party is negotiating with each one of you. But very interestingly, none of your rates are same. How can it be that if you have really thought about every item to be considered and been so diligently working on each item, how come the prices were not same? If suppose you have a schedule of rates and the quantity is given for any kind of construction projects, and then you have the BOQ in which the quantity is there and the schedule of rates like DSR, daily schedule of rates, or other standard schedule of rates, they are same price, then how come your prices are different? How come your quote be different? People generally try to make the differences in their profit. Okay, but the thing is, we talk about it because we want to win, and the negotiation, when the negotiation begins, nobody wants to lose. Okay, but still win-win. Here, when you are going to go for working together and then you are deciding about the exchange rates, is it winning or is it partnering or collaborating? Suppose two persons are trying to vie for a project and they want to work together, and then they decide your share is this much, my share is this much. Now we are negotiating. We have not yet gone for negotiating with the client. We are vying for a project together like JVs, like joint ventures. In such cases, we are first negotiating among ourselves that what should be your share, what should be my share. And then immediately my share what? Share of responsibility, share of money. This I have said, this I have discussed earlier. So when for JV, these two parties are now negotiating, okay, is it for winning or for collaborating or for partnering? So this has to be understood what we really feel or think about winning. Here, the joint venture, during joint ventures, both the parties are trying to work out the proportion, like say one party, this in this JV, one partner is going to take about say 55%. Then naturally the other party is going to take 45%. Then who has lost? In fact, both of them have won. How? They are going to get that project. The project which will bring this party 45%, that party 55%. What they have won is the project. And this 45 or 55, if it is really clearly worked out based on the amount of deliverables or share of responsibility, then the share of the money or share of the earning, if it is compared to the share of responsibility, then you might find it's quite matching. If it is matching, then we say we are in a win-win situation. And then together you vie for a project, and there you negotiate at the fees. So whatever is the fees that is worked out, and then that comes as a share to you, and your 45% of that particular fees. Now, if you don't get the project, then you lose. If you get the project, then you win. So the thing is, this idea of win-win or win-lose or lose-lose situation has to be understood. So it is always, it's very contextual. It's very, person specific. Who are negotiating? What is the situation? Sometime, you must have heard about distress sell. Somebody is shifting from this particular city with the family to another city, and he has to move out within 1 month. He gives a notice, an advertisement. Within 1 month, he has to sell off this every item that he has in the household, and if he doesn't, then he has to pay for the rents for the months where he is not staying. At the same time, he will be paying for the rents for a place where he will be staying during that particular time. That means he is paying both the rents. Now, in such cases, he definitely works out in the negotiation a little lesser prices fixed, so that the clients are eager or they become encouraged to take your items. Okay? This we from a distance will say it's a distress sell, because he is distressed, so he is trying to sell it off. But the thing is, you ask him, he will say I have won, because to him it's a win-win, because he has computed this in terms of how much you would have otherwise lost by paying extra rent if you had to hold this furnitures or every household goods here for another 2, 3, 6 months. Okay? So it has to be understood. There is an expectation paradigm. The situation is this, that during win-win, what is the expectation of both the parties? That's very important. If the expectation is sky high and the achievement is less, then it's not a win-win situation. Every time, even the expectations are also elastic. Just like buying, selling, even for partnering, joint venture, or even for any other consultancy service or others, both the parties will have some expectation level. So they decide about the expectation level on their own, depending on their situations. And sometimes the expectation levels are worked out based on the partner. And then the negotiation starts. And this expectation paradigm is this, where they have to understand at some point, have they been expecting higher, which they shouldn't have, then they will lower down their levels. And somebody, if suppose they were not expecting much, but during discussion they are finding that they are being really coveted and people are ready to take me, then I will raise my expectation levels. My expectation level was low. An example, if suppose before going for a negotiation for a price for a consultancy project, if suppose we worked out in the office that if it is less than 2.5%, I will walk out. But after going there, you will not utter this 2.5% to them. If suppose you are asked, what's your price? You will simply say 3.5%. your expectation level is 2.5%. That means you have kept a lower expectation. And then the client, after discussing with you and being impressed by you, says, okay, 3.5, can you be a little lesser? Then you say, okay, 3.3. Where was your expectation level? 2.5. But the thing is, now you are saying it's 3.3. If suppose they say it will be nice if you take 3, that means you are now, you know that your expectation level was 2.5 and now you asked for 3.5, and then he is asking you to take the contract at 3% rate, and now you are in the comfortable zone. So when you are in the comfortable zone, you know that 3% I should agree, and then immediately agrees, and both the parties are very happy, and then sign the contract. That is how it goes on. Okay, so there is an expectation paradigm that has to be understood. The point that brings into is, should both parties assume the other is seeking win-win? You know why this negotiation takes place means we call it bargaining. Very simple market term of this negotiation is bargaining. That means we bargain. Go to a shop, you take a look at the garment, they say a price and you say can it be lesser? That means you are bargaining. Okay? So why this is done? Because every other opponent is thinking the other party is trying to go for win. But is it? Shall we assume that both the parties are thinking of win-win? That has to be understood. Should negotiators be seeking it since beginning? That means, of course, both of us, both the negotiators are thinking of winning. Means I always say us means I always think that I am one of the negotiators. Okay, that's why sometimes I say that I or us, because I am in the several process of negotiations. So quite often it becomes almost my participation in this. Okay, should negotiator be seeking win-win situation since the beginning, or does it get created? Can win-win be perceived at the beginning? That means, okay, if suppose we are discussing and then we are thinking that okay, we are going to win-win, can I perceive it? Can the opponent also perceive it right from the beginning? And then should all negotiations result in win-win? See, these four things is the expectation paradigm. It sets the expectation paradigm. The point is, I have given an example of 2.5%. My expected minimum I should accept is 2.5%. If suppose I get it at 2.5%, then also I will consider it's a win, because I thought I will win if it is 2.5% at least, but I have asked for 3.5. And the person, opponent, is also having some idea. He also has an expectation level of how much he should be fixing it at. And that is, if he is saying, will you be happy to take this work at the rate of 3% of the construction cost? If he is saying that, his expectation level was even much lower, but he set it at 3, that at 3, if suppose it comes to, I will give the project. If it is lesser, I will be over happy. That means I am having now profit. If suppose it was less than 2.5%, the client said less than 2.5% and you agreed. Now you see, his expectation level was 3. If it was fixed at 2.5%, it matched with your rates. But if suppose he pressurized you based on your urgency and understanding that you are having weak partner, and he says, okay, I can offer this project only at 2.25, and you accept it, that means he is on the profit side and you are on the losing side. At this point, shall we call it's win-win? No, we cannot, because win would have been, say 3 is win. For him, 3 is win. So win-win situation is such particular line at which, at that fulcrum, that both of you finally become agreed, provided you are not landing up into the worst consequences of the negotiation. Means you are not really suffering. Okay, that is a zone that you have to work out very, very carefully. So it's that approach that you have to take. Another is the win-lose. So what is it? What is this win-losing? Who wins and who loses? If suppose, if there is a fixed amount to be shared, and then one is taking the higher share of the same commodity, see, then whoever is taking the higher share is winning, whoever is taking the lesser share is losing. When it happens, the profit sharing, I gave the profit share example in joint venture. Suppose we are having almost equal responsibility amongst my partner for joint venture. So it should have been fairly 50-50, and through negotiation the other party could achieve 55% stake and I could achieve 45% stake. What was that stake? Stake is the money value, where our fixed deliverables are same or worked out. With the deliverable, where I was expecting 50% of that particular fees that you are going to get after negotiation, and my partner also would have got 50%, but now he has staked his claim for 55% and I agreed to 50% and I am getting 45% of that amount. That means I am losing, he is winning. This is what is a win-lose situation. That means when an item is being shared, that means the fees is being shared, the credential is being shared, the rights are being shared. In such cases, win-lose situation comes. Is win-lose situation negative? I consider no. It's a part of the whole negotiation game. It's not necessarily negative. See, of the same commodity, if one has to lose, one wins, then the other definitely loses. It's just like game, a football game, in which one team has to lose, then only the other team will win. What is that situation that brings them to a draw? Is it win-win? No, we cannot say that the other party is winner. It's a draw. That means it's a stalemate. At that particular point, both of them are equal. So one cannot be respected as winner or the other the loser. If one, then what happens is they go for another penalty shots, in which whoever scores the highest, he becomes the winner. That means the stalemate situation is now broken by bringing one to the winner situation, another to the loser situation. Then only the game is said, okay, it's win-lose. Though I somehow feel that this kind of mechanism by which only the goalkeeper is put under stress and then the team is decided as a winner or loser, somehow ideologically I have a little bit of reservations for this. But the point is, it is a part of the game. It's there. It's in the rule. It's universally true. Similar for our negotiations in business. Even if you know that you are not winning, you are losing, but only what you do is we try to see how much is the less we can lose. Okay? So win-lose situation is really not negative. When your partner is weak and my joint venture's partner is strong, then it's quite likely that I'll be in a losing situation and the other partner is in the winning situation. So why should one lose at all? The situation when you have to go into the loser's position. By losing means what? Getting a lesser share through negotiation. When you are weak, then only you are likely to go into the losing situation. So you can lose only when you are weak. Now here comes the point I said earlier, during the joint venture discussions or negotiations. Because here basically we are sharing the booty, we are sharing the fees. Okay? It's not the same kind of negotiation that you are having with the client. In this, X amount will come after negotiation with the client, and that will come to both of us together. And then I am deciding how much I should get. In this situation, nobody would like to lose. But the thing is, if suppose we give an idea that I am a very strong partner, maybe this is the first time you are partnering with me, and I am only getting partnered in the one project, but in future I might bring many more projects through this partnership, then my partner becomes strong. The other party, when he is trying to collaborate with me, he is trying to see me as a golden hen. He is trying to see that this particular person, even if I'm sharing a little more than what I can, I should have paid, but this person can bring in 5 more projects which I may not be able to get. That means he is of the weak partner. This is where the whole negotiation game goes on. So win-lose situation is such where one has to lose and the other has to win. And if they don't, in business negotiation, win-lose situation in such cases, win-win is when you are sharing almost equally in all respects. It's a win-win situation. And when you are sharing unequally, it's a win-lose situation. So can win-lose situation be avoided? Yes, it can always be avoided, and it should be avoided. win-lose situation should not be dragged on for a longer durations or for longer situations. Win-lose situation, it can be contextual, like say today I am saying to my JV partner that I am taking 45%, you take 55%. But the next project that will come, I will take 55, you will take 45. It's a very fair deal, very fair deal. In such situations, basically I have avoided this win-lose situation. What I have done is I have won a promise of higher percentage later. This is the game plan. Mind it has to be very, very carefully played, and any kind of slip, any kind of false moves, any kind of false statements can just spoil the whole negotiation. Then comes the situation which is lose-lose. What is this lose-lose? Lose-lose is when people don't come to an agreement at all, and then both of them are losing. It has never happened that if somebody has asked for a fees and he has not been given that much of fees, means this person has lost, that the other person has lost. No. When a fees is worked out based on in exchange of the service delivery, then service delivery one is getting at a lesser rate, he is in a winning situation, and the person who is charging less is a loser situation. Lose-lose situation is the one in which both the parties generally lose the situation. That means it does not really lead to any successful negotiated agreement which can benefit at least partially to anybody. Okay? The consequences is you lose relationship, you lose your cool, you lose business, you lose opportunities. I will give some more examples after I discuss about this. Is it desirable? I say no. No. Never try to lead the negotiation to a level when it is going to be lose-lose. Never. Work out the threshold, and then you harp on the threshold and try to convince your opponent that about the threshold and the consequences of that. See, I talked about the Buna. Okay. Now, in such cases what happens is there you decide, you say that if you bring me down below this particular fees level, then I'll not be able to do justice in terms of quality delivery to you. That's a threshold line you have to explain to him very well. In fact, it should be always avoided. It is not desirable. And is it profitable? No. Lose-lose situation is never profitable in terms of business negotiation. Business negotiation is, it's very contextual. I think it as a very contextual. Every purchase is contextual. Every business negotiation is contextual. But what is very important is while you are negotiating for deciding about the partnership in your life, that means the spouses are deciding, the boy and girl they are deciding about their life and they are deciding to stay together, get married. At that point of situation, you can never think of lose-lose situation. You can never have a good marriage with lose-lose situation. But in business, lose-lose situation should always be avoided. It can be done. It can be done in a manner when if you give a true picture, if you are very frank, if you are transparent, I can tell you the lose-lose situation is very clearly dissolved, and then it either results in win-lose situation or it results in win-win situation. See, win-lose situation, I am not really somewhere in some references they write lose-win situation. I am not saying that. It's a win-lose situation means either way you look at it. Okay. Otherwise, lose-lose situation is not profitable. And can lose-lose be converted to win-win? That's what is my point. Yes, you can. And always try. My suggestion, dear friend, is this. If you see the whole negotiation is resulting into the lose-lose situation, then both of you, both the negotiator, you try to convert it to win-win situation. Or say this win, if I say somebody is winning, both of you are winning, one is heavily winning, another is lightly or lesser winning, but the thing is both are winning. It's like if a contract is given to an architect by a client at by reduced fees, and the reduced fees which they have worked it out, in such cases both of them have won. What they have won? The client has won an architect to design for his project. The architect has won the project to design for him. What the architect has lost is expected fees has been reduced to some, so he lost. And what the client has gained, he had a fees, architect has charged for a higher fees, he reduced it down, so he won. So his winning quantum is a little heavy. Architect's winning quantum is little less, but doesn't matter. If I see summarily, it's win-win. This is where the negotiation becomes almost an everyday part in our business. See, there are certain basic methods of negotiation. I'll quickly discuss about it. The first thing is convince. During negotiation, be frank. Convince what you are going to deliver, what you are going to expect. Opponent is also going to convince you what they are expecting from you and how much they can pay. See, I am always taking this example of service vis-a-vis payment because that's the most common thing in the business. Most businesses are delivery of service and taking compensation against it. That's why I will always say service and payment. Convince. First you convince each other that what you are delivering, like say if you are a deliverer, if you are a service provider, how much you are going to deliver, what you are going to deliver, what's the quality of it, convince him. If suppose you are not coming to a common agreement, then you compromise it. Compromise it in what? Either in terms of quantum or in terms of quality or in terms of price or in terms of time delivery. So you compromise. But this term I am using here because quite often I have heard from my business negotiator friends. Initially during my discussion I said that I don't like this particular term. It sounds very negative to me. But the thing is, quite often the negotiator plays this game. When they come out of negotiation, that in the exit domain they have come to and they are not getting any results and they are leading to a point of no return. That means there is no chance you will go back and renegotiate. In such cases what they do is they scuttle the whole negotiation by confusing. It's something like what I have heard, I can tell you. It's something like, suppose I tell somebody, no, I don't accept your rates, so I'm not going to take you. You can simply leave. That means I'm just closing this negotiation. I will look for another person. I have another alternative. I'm trying to give a strong partner. The other person simply tries to know who is the other person I'm depending on. Suppose by mistake or accidentally it slips out of my mind, out of my mouth, and I say, I have this company I can always get back to. You know what this negotiator will do is, who is going to end this negotiation, the other side, he will simply talk about very many negatives of the other companies. They'll say you can jolly well go to that company who has lost their this project, and you can go to that company who is dealing with the fire services system and the fire system collapsed. So basically what he is doing is he is now putting all negatives about those other parties to whom I might be reaching to for negotiation. So basically by giving me this feedbacks, what that particular party is doing is he is confusing me. So quite often I found many of my negotiator friends, they say that if suppose you don't win, if suppose you come to the exit domain and now you are in the exit mode and point of no return, then confuse and come back. Because you know that you have lost the game, so you scuttle the game and come back. And that confusion is a very serious confusion. So friends, soft skill when I am discussing, all these are basically what? Your emotional maturity. You should be, if you are playing a game, and then if you find that this particular person is now trying to put in some bad words about the other competitors, you should be emotionally strong enough to understand that he is playing a game. So what you should do is, you should definitely meet them, other parties, talk to them and see to it that they are right or wrong. And if you find that what this person has said was right, then you have a chance of rejecting. But if you find that this person is, what they have said is wrong, then you are in a better position to negotiate with them. So confuse is also a method of negotiation. So that's why I put it here. Other methods, bargain. Bargain means you decide about the price, you reduce the price, you increase the price, whatever, bargain. Threat sometime. For political negotiations, for invasions, historically all negotiations which led to invasions, basically they were all through threat. That means you threaten the opponents, and basically this threatening does not mean always use negative words. Your threatening is you make them aware that the consequences, in case they don't take you, then what they are going to lose, that's also a threat. If suppose you say that okay, you can, I may not do your work, but the thing is, if you take any other architect who is not going to give you that quality which I can give, so it is better that you take me, is the threat. Okay? But however, these are all different games, so you have to play. Just like in all the games you have fouls, similar, you have fouls. Be logical. As I said, that convince, also be logical. During negotiation, if you are logical, it can lead to the quick negotiated agreement, quick, and it can enter into the comfort zone very, very fast if it is logical. So it is very important that how you speak, how you put your point forwards. I'll give you some steps after this. So emotional play, sometime, or sometimes it's victim card. These are also methods. What is the emotional play? I have found that a seller has come to me and they said, sir, please buy from me, otherwise I lose my job. So I could not make any sale for the day, but I have to go back and at least show one sale, and since you may require it, why don't you buy at least one piece of this particular object from me? Then I save my job. Basically what he is doing, he is emotionally playing with my emotions, and he is also playing a victim card, that he is becoming a victim of the situation, that he could not make a single sale and he is trying to sell me that. Essentially the people who are selling books door to door, they are doing the same thing. People who are selling different kind of household small items, lesser, they are playing this particular negotiation game very, very frequently with the ladies of the home, and there definitely they are winning in several times. Okay. Then glaciers removal. If suppose in the negotiation you find that there are certain kind of glaciers, then you try to remove it, because it can so happen that in drafting, in speculating, or in configuration of the tasks, or even finding out the expected value of this, there may be glaciers. You remove it. And then value judgment. The best for the negotiation is that when both the parties, they judge the value of the negotiation. That means they know that what is being offered and what is being delivered or what is being negotiated about, it has a value. So this is very, very important. So now if you see in the whole methods, there are different kind of methods. Let me just read out once again for you: convince, compromise, confuse, bargain, threat, logical, emotional play or victim cards, glaciers removal, and value judgment. See, most often I'll tell you, for normal household goods, it's the bargain that goes on in negotiation. So you'll find almost in the market, in the vegetable market, in any of the markets, you'll find the bargaining is the term which is very common, but it's nothing but negotiation. Okay? And what is the best way of doing the negotiation is negotiating through value judgment and convince the others or both the parties, each other, that through the value judgment. If there are any glitches that you identify, you can always take care of this. You have to be logical when you discuss, but quite often threat is also used. This threat in different form I have already said, but it is always better that you don't confuse. If you are a positive player in the negotiation, my suggestion is never confuse your opponent. You simply dignified manner come out of this negotiation, and you decide, that now you have gone into that particular exit domain, you declare that this was my last offer, you are not accepting this offer, let's say goodbye, let's remain friend, because you do not know that in future it might so happen that you will again get back to this group. So in the business negotiation, confusion should never be created. That's negative. Okay? So next I will discuss in the next day about the multiple phases of negotiation. Okay, thank you.